everyone. My name is Kyle Worrell. I graduated in 2009 from South Anchorage High. I also went to Stellar Secondary School in 9th and 10th grade. I was born in Alaska, so I've lived mostly between Fairbanks and Anchorage. But my family, they come from, on my mother's side, Holy Cross on the Yukon River, and on my dad's side, Klukwan in southeast Alaska.
Hello, my name is Aaron Tolan, and I was born and raised here in Anchorage. I graduated from Diamond High School in 2014. I am Tlingit at MECAC. My family comes from Nome and Sitka.
Hello, I'm Michael Quinones. I graduated in 2009 from Evergreen Valley High School in San Jose, California. I was born in Mexico. My family is from Mexico. Come from a Mexican culture family.
Hello, my name is Adan Acuna. It's quite a mouthful, I know. I graduated high school in 2014 from West Anchorage High School. I've lived in Anchorage, Alaska my whole life, all 19 years, and I am Mexican-American. Both parents are from Mexico.
My name's Jordan Goodwin. It's Jordan in Japanese. But Jordan. Okay. I graduated from East High School last year. And I lived in Alaska for 18 years. No, wait, 17. 17 years. Wait, two ways. Okay, no, it wasn't. 18 years. Oh, gosh. Okay, what was that? Oh, gosh, I feel like, am I on that one now? Okay. Well, for me, I really have it really hard to define a culture and ethnic for myself. And later on, when I actually learned there was other languages out there, I became more interested in Japanese, and I associate myself more as with the Japanese than I do with any other part of me, because this is what I learned, and it became more important to me.
Hello everyone, my name is Emmanuel Diaz. I am a graduate from West Anchorage High School. I graduated in 2010. I was born and raised in Mexico until I was the age of 12. And then I moved here, and I've been living here for 10 years. Both my parents are Mexican. My whole family's Mexican. So that's pretty much my whole ethnic background.
Hello, my name is Balogan Bishop. I graduated from Bartlett High School in 2010. Both of my parents are from Panama. My whole family is Panamanian, so we do speak Spanish. The other question was, how long have I lived in Alaska? I lived in Alaska my whole life. Came up here because of the military, and that's about it.
Hello everyone, my name is Rutger Ware. I've been living here for about 9 years. I'm a graduate of West Anchorage High School, class of 2013. Both of my parents are from South Sudan. So I'm currently a sophomore at UAA, and I'm pursuing elementary education. And the reason why I wanted to become an elementary education major is because I wanted to face the challenges of poverty by helping students find their purpose through the classroom. As a teacher, I want to help expand educational opportunity in low-income areas, and I hope by becoming a teacher, I can be a lifelong leader for students and helping students face the challenges of poverty and pursuing education. To help students find a purpose in the classroom.
So I'm a senior in University of Alaska Anchorage, studying computer science and computer network technology. And I always, based on my environment, kind of developed into where I wanted to study, because I had a lot of interests, but I based my computer science interest based off of my 8th grade experience in Lego robotics. So that really inspired me, and then when it came down to choose what degree to want to pursue, that is where it started, 8th grade. And then from then on, I just saw myself involving myself with more technology, and that's the reason why I'm studying that.
I'm a math major at UAA. I do either teach or tutor. Yeah, so I actually get asked even by my mom why I chose math. So it's interesting for me. I think my life shaped me pretty much to choose math. The big part was moving to America. I found speaking English was really hard for me, and learning it in general was really hard for me. But one thing I could relate to was math. You know, as they say, math is universal. So that was the one thing I could still understand, the numbers. So from there on in, I just stuck to math, and that's how I am where I am.
I am studying currently in Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, and I want to go to medical school to become a psychiatrist. Why a psychiatrist? Well, we were just looking up jobs in middle school, and psychiatrist, I didn't even know what the heck that was. It was a weird-looking name. So I decided, you know what, maybe I want to be a psychiatrist. And when it came to high school, I started learn more and more what psychiatrists are, and it became something more and more what I thought I would be more interested in. And why am I still pursuing to become a psychiatrist? Because I like people. I like talking with people. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I care about people. I like talking with people. But also, that's not all I want to be. Even though I'm majoring that, I'm probably going to also get a major in Japanese. But I also want to be a fashion designer. I want to go on adventures in Egypt. I want to do everything.
Well, this is my second semester at the University of Alaska Anchorage, and I'm a business administration major. The reason why I chose this major is because I have a dream and I have a goal. And my dreams are to be able to open and run my own soccer, not just soccer, more sports academies such as like Cook Inlet and Boys and Girls Club. I like what they do, and frankly, I think more sport academies and or clubs will keep kids off the streets more often, which is great for the community. And frankly, my goal would be open more domes so kids can have more places to play, because I understand winter can be quite harsh for some of us who play outdoor sports. And so I do hope to open these academies for sports and all, because I do believe that Alaska is underestimated when it comes to creating athletes and promoting them to the whole world. And I know when I was little, I had a dream of becoming a soccer player, and frankly, due to not enough resources, that did not come true. However, I believe I could perhaps be the change in some other kid's life to be able to push him to be the next, Hall of Famer.
My area of study is civil engineering, a bachelor's of science. The reason I chose civil engineering was because my love of math. Growing up, I found math very easy. I also want to design things. Growing up, my mom asked me what I wanted to do, and it was always architecture. And so something that's related to civil engineering, I think, is architecture. So I chose civil engineering.
I'm currently studying under mechanical engineering right now, but I don't know if I want to stay under it, so I'm thinking about switching the end of this semester, which I'm about to finish my first year. And I haven't really decided on what I want to do next, so I'm just going to go out and try different things.
I'll be graduating next year with a bachelor's in anthropology with a linguistic focus and a minor in Alaska Native Studies. I guess what influenced me to kind of go in this direction was partly my grandmother has always been a big part of my life, and making sure that I practice my culture. And then also in high school, I joined the Alaska Native Heritage Center high school program, which really got me interested in my own culture. So those two things kind of influenced choosing my degree, my field. And what I want to do after is I want to work with Alaska Native languages, as most Alaska Native languages are endangered. And so I'd also like to teach native languages.
It's kind of new to my whole family because my mom went for a semester, but she couldn't continue because I think she had me and then she had my sister, so then she had to stop. But it's kind of new to our family. We're still getting used to it because they're not real, now I'm not hanging out with them a lot, I'm not being around them a lot, so they're starting to get used to me not being around. And they're looking, I'm kind of like, yeah.
I think it's a great feeling. I have the full support of my family, which is nice. Also being an example for all the younger siblings, giving my example to college and passing that on to them. And it's tough sometimes because they don't know anything about college, so I got to learn everything on my own, which could be challenging sometimes, but it's a good experience.
Being a first generation to go to college in my family, it's quite nerve-wracking. I feel like I have a lot of eyes on me and a lot of people supporting me, which is great. And I feel it's a great accomplishment to be the first in my family, because I understand that my parents didn't have the chance to go to college due to lack of funds and all that. And it just means a lot to me that I'm able to push myself to achieve more than what my parents could do. However, my life was one of the best. I cannot complain. And hopefully, the way I'm succeeding in college so far, I can push my brother and sister to also pursue college and all that.
Hello again. But at first, I thought I would be alone when I go to college. But what happened, I started having a new family at college with the staff. And that helps me keep coming back to school and stay there, because it feels like I live at two places at home. I can go 20 minutes to the apartment where my mom lives, or go on campus and see the people I've come to like really well. What else can I talk about? I'm like talking to this.
As a first generation student, I think it's really scary. That's the main feeling I can think of right off the top of my head. But the aftertaste is excitement too. It's like you're open to this new world too. So like you can go undetected by like your parents, you know. So if you mess up, you don't have someone telling you, well, why didn't you do this, right? Because they don't know what's going on. So that's the exciting part. The hard part is actually figuring everything out. Especially because I have a younger sister, and I know she looks up to me, and I want to show her that, you know, it's not as scary, it's not as hard as people make it seem to be. So I think those are the two main feelings that you get being first generation.
Mine's actually the opposite. Both my parents did go to college and graduated from that, but I also look at it as particularly my mom's experience of how she went to college, and how much it was where she had to, you know, take the bus, go a certain distance that was a ways away from home, and make sure she studied and went to work and did all of this work behind the fact of going to school, and how she came from a family where they didn't have food to eat every single day. Sometimes they would just drink water, and then you go to school and you would act like you were just full, you know. But she got her education, she graduated, and she's also a teacher right now. And then so a lot of my mindset is geared towards what my family has gone through before I even came into this world. And then when I see how much my mom went into, and saying, for instance, like bread was something that they didn't have, right? They all had one slice of bread or one loaf of bread for the entire week or the entire month. And my mom told me that she said that when I grow up, I want to have my family to be able to eat as much bread as possible. So if you go to my house, you always see a loaf of bread. So I look at that and I think to myself, like, okay, well, I'm in college. Education is the key. you know, and I can go on with more stories about my family members, my cousins have come down from what not succeeding in college or in school in general, but now one cousin in particular, he actually created his own school. He has 5 degrees and he's still studying. So I mean, just to have that mindset of saying like you come from here, but it's what you want to, it's the goal you want to go at. So it's really like motivational. It's like if my family members who have come from nothing can do it, that means I have no excuse.
I guess being a first-generation college student is an opportunity and sometimes an obstacle because there's constant pressure and just knowing that your family members haven't been able to get the opportunity to go to school. I guess the resources available such as ETS and the student support services makes the transition a lot easier. And just knowing that they've been through the same situation that I've been in, being a first-generation college student helps a lot and makes the transition easier. And also pursuing an education, I'm doing it for myself, but I'm also doing it for my family as well. Just knowing that they weren't able to get the opportunity and knowing that my brothers and sisters have someone to look up to and know that someone was able to pursue an education, they have that motivation and they have someone that has done it before and they can look to me as an example. I would once again like to thank ETS and Student Support Services just for providing the resources to help make the transition easier, and also my church as well.
I would say it goes back to my circle, my environment that I grew up in. Coming from the background with my parents and you know, already going through college and motivating me to continue pursuing education, I kind of felt in the sense of if I was at home not doing anything, then I'm not doing something to benefit my life. You know, so I always tried to make sure I involved myself and was consistently being active. So in high school, I made sure I was, you know, playing sports, was in extracurricular activities, whether it be dance, whether it be, you know, music, whether it be, you know, sometimes I would go to spelling bees, even though, you know, but it was just making sure that I was actively doing something to find out what I want to be or what I want to do. And so I would say my environment, my circle, the place where I grew up with, or places that I was going to, helped motivate me into what I am today.
That I'm really grateful for. One of the big ones that I unfortunately don't remember the name of the organization was when I first got to the U.S., I needed to learn English, but I learned it through King Career Center. I don't know what the program is called, but pretty much what it was is, what is it? The Newcomers. There you go. Thank you. So I think the newcomers, just because the whole system, how it works, half of the day learning English and then the other half in the regular classroom, I think that helped a lot. Just because if it would have been just a full day learning English, I would have never gotten to feel what it's like to actually be around the other students. So that's a big one. And while I actually went to Central Middle School, and I can think of one teacher, Mr. Luna, who knows Spanish, and I could go to him about like any homework I had questions on, and I think he's a big help for me too. And then once when I went to high school, I got help from the ETS, and that's pretty much where everything came from me. I cannot think of any teacher or any program that helped me more than the ETS. So.
Okay, I'm not just going to say thanks to ETS, but wait, is her name Caitlin? Caitlin? Okay, yeah, Caitlin. Okay, I think it's the people. Like, for instance, I probably wouldn't come to ETS if it weren't for some of the staff members. Like, Caitlin. Yeah, Caitlin. She made it more fun. And because of that, I had more of a positive outlook on ETS, and I was willing just to show up there and get information and learn more about college that I didn't know about. So, gotta say, thank you, Caitlin. But what else? Okay. I'm in Japanese Culture Club, and what has helped me through that is actually helps me continue to learn and motivate myself to continue to learn about the Japanese language, which I'm pretty happy about. What else? What people? Okay. I gotta say thank you to Andrew Mullins who used to have been part of SSS. Not anymore, but spiritually part of it. He's a good person to talk to, and when people go through hard times, we don't really talk to anyone, like, for instance, grades. Let's be honest, when people ask you what your grades are, most likely you're not going to be honest 100% of the time. But when you talk to someone and you express it, you don't feel stressful and you're able to focus more on your studies. Like, for instance, last semester, both start with an S. But my dog died 3 days before my birthday. I didn't have anyone to talk to on the weekend. I went to school only for an hour. I went home. But when it came to Monday and I talked to him, I felt more relieved and less stressful. I was able to start and get back on track on my studies.
I have to thank my parents for always pushing me and reminding me that although they were pretty successful, they expect me to be even more successful. And, well, that's a high bar to reach, but I can do it. Also, growing up, I have to say being part of certain organizations, like, for instance, Anchorage Youth Court, taught me how not everyone is as lucky as I am to be able to stay on the good path and be able to go to college and all that, and which is why I understand it is critical to find a way to change the youth's lives at a young age so they understand not to turn to a life of crime and drugs and all that. Also, growing up, I love playing sports, specifically soccer. I played it all throughout high school as well, and I believe sports is, although education is important, sports is that little extra bit of fun that keeps everything together. And without education, you can't do sports. Because I know for myself, in order to play soccer, I had to have the grades. And so they both go together when it comes to succeeding. And lastly, I have to say it, Educational Talent Search, part of the TRIO program. If it wasn't for them, I would have probably had more of a rougher path to follow in order to get to college. I didn't know all the steps. However, thanks to ETS and some certain people like Megan Tompkins, Miss Caitlin DeMarcus back there, I was able to see the clear path. However, it was myself who chose to follow that path and to go all the way.
I think what made me successful in high school was first off AVID program. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that, but in my high school, that AVID, and that made me feel like, oh, I'm like a part of something, and I'm part of like smart kids, and that was they taught me like how to take good notes and stuff like that in that class. I also think sports, like you said, are important. It gave me social interactions with people. It's one way to make friends. Also, the school put on events that promoted social interactions, and also all the teachers that were really friendly. Because I didn't like to go to class when the teachers were like mean and they didn't explain the material. So, AVID was a program I took my freshman year in high school. And it was a selected few, just a group of students they invited to join that program. And what it was, they taught us how to prepare for college and how to take notes, the type of readings that they were going to introduce in college. And, yeah, that's what it was. AVID, AVID. It was an acronym. I'm not sure what it is. We just recognized it as AVID.
For me, in high school, my success was my teachers. I got to know them really well. Every year, I stayed behind class to get to know my teachers, and they got to know me really well. And I also joined sports, and I think I helped restart the multicultural club at Diamond my senior year. So I got to be a part of that. And then transition into college, I would like to thank Sheila and NSS because they helped me with my transition into college. They helped me figure out all my financial needs and other needs that I needed for college. And then I'm also a part of Native Student Council, which I got a bunch of support from all the members in that club, and they really want to see me succeed.
A couple programs that I really credit to my success and that I'm really grateful to have had was the Multicultural Center at the South High. It actually just opened up, I think, my junior year there. And also the Alaska Native Heritage Center High School program that I also joined my senior year. I grew up in Fairbanks with a really tight-knit kind of family, a really large, tight-knit family. And when I moved to Anchorage for high school, it was a big change for me, and I felt kind of out of place here. And I was also kind of challenged, I guess, by my identity being Alaska Native, and just with I guess in my education, I feel it was lacking in any sort of education of Alaska Native culture or history, and so instead I feel like in school the Native identity was more defined by stereotypes. I mean, people would talk about Alaska Natives through stereotypes, and that was kind of how my identity was defined by my peer group, and so it was something that I was a bit ashamed and kind of uncomfortable about. So I really didn't share my identity that much early on, but those programs, the Multicultural Center and the Alaska Native Heritage Center programs really helped me feel like I was part of a community, and it really completely changed my mindset about who I am. Instead of being ashamed, joining the Heritage Center program, they taught us about Alaska Native history and culture, and I had no idea there was 21 different Alaska Native languages. I had no idea about this rich history of Alaska Native people, this rich culture that goes back thousands of years. There's all these innovative ideas and stories that our people have, and it completely changed my mindset from feeling like I should be ashamed to be Alaska Native to now I'm very grateful for my cultural background. So those two programs, the Multicultural Center and the Alaska Native Heritage Center, really shaped who I am today, and my education, and I guess I feel like I have an actual purpose and a community to work towards helping. I think it's important for students to find a community, whether it's cultural or a club of shared interests. Just I believe finding some sort of community is very important. It I guess creates a support group, and it makes you feel like you're not alone and you have people there. So finding a community, taking on opportunities, any type of opportunities to join a club or to join a sport or anything like that, I think is very important.
I feel that they should join a club too, or an organization, because it helps with getting support and wanting to go to school, and then also getting to know your professors, because that's something that I'm doing right now, and it just helps you get to know your professor and them to get to know yourself, so that way if anything comes up you can talk to them and they'll understand.
I would tell them to keep focused, that knowledge is important to success, and I would suggest that they start early on what they want to study, and get involved with people that have similar interests.
First of all, one of the first things I learned in my first semester from this lovely professor Dr. Patterson, is that college is something for everyone. So no one should feel like they aren't college material or they don't belong. No matter what your background is or what your history is, everyone does deserve a chance to go to college. So don't throw yourself right off the boat saying, oh, I'm not college material, because I believe everyone is college material. Second, I believe sticking with, as some of these panelists have said already, that sticking with a sport or a club throughout your school careers will shape you into that man or woman to pursue greater things in life, and therefore push you to keep wanting to go forward and to become someone big, and becoming big in order to help others to follow their dreams as well. So I have to thank all of the clubs and organizations that I joined that shaped me to the man who I am today, and have always pushed me and convinced me that I am capable of great things in life.
What I noticed, I study this every year, is that, for instance, okay, I go to the Multicultural Center, that's where I like to be. But anyways, I noticed over time, as classes go on, less and less people show up. And I think it could be maybe they're ashamed of what their grades could be. And when you're ashamed, you're not motivated to really get up and just go. You might look at your homework like this is just too stressful, I don't know where I can go. But what helps is finding someone that you can talk to and get that stress out of you. And when it's out of you, and it's not bottled up, you can focus on other things that you need to get done. And also, I want to elaborate on community. Definitely found a community. For me, it's Multicultural Center. I go there, people know me, and what's really makes me happy is when they know you by name. Especially when a professor in the hallway goes, "Hi, Jordan," and smiles. You know, that makes me really happy. I can think about it all day long. But definitely finding a place where you can be happy on campus is definitely something everyone should do.
So my piece of advice would be very universal, which is don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's the main one, for me anyways. I found that some of us, sometimes feel culturally alienated, or we feel just like nobody understands us, or, oh, I'm failing math, there's no one I can talk to about getting help, or, simple stuff, from the simple stuff to the more complex stuff. I think it really helps to just get out of your comfort zone sometimes and just ask for help. I think that's a big one for me, just because, sometimes people are scared, and that's what usually brings them down, I think, is, oh, I have nowhere to go, and sometimes that may seem like it, and that's because you're not asking the right people the right questions. So I think focus on questions, on what questions you have to yourself or to the teachers, and just ask. Don't be afraid to ask. That would be the number one. Sure.
Oh yeah, I was definitely afraid before. But when I asked for help, it was amazing. I had a professor sit down with me for over an hour to help me understand problems and what I could do better. And I don't know, it's really good. It's helpful. Talk to professors.
Yes, so back to that clubs and getting involved, it's really about stepping out of your comfort zone sometimes. I can share an experience that I heard when I was coming to college. It was from New Student Orientation when I attended the first year in 2010. One of the orientation leaders said they were telling their experiences and talking about that, and they said, get to know your professor, because you go into a classroom, there's a whole bunch of students, like what can you do to stand out so that professor can remember you and help you when you're struggling with your classes and stuff. So one quick experience that I had, I was like, okay, I'm in a class, it's biology, and I feel like I was getting lost, literally, because I went from going to a private school really small to a public school, high school, a little bit bigger, and then now I'm in college where it's just huge. And then what I needed to do was I needed to ask my professor about something. I didn't know what I needed to ask him. I didn't have my question ready, but I knew that I needed to go and talk to this professor. So I figured out his lunch or his office hours. I decided to go down there, and remind you, I did not know what I was going to ask him. I just had an idea about my grade and some assignments that he was giving us. So once I went to his office hour, I actually came into when he was having lunch, and our first conversation was about some chicken. And so there we go, just talking about some chicken over his own lunch. And then I went ahead and asked him about my grade, and then that was the end of the conversation. You know, it was just me talking to the professor to get to know him, asking him about a question that I was having some question with, which got answered, but, you know, but then what really showed that helped was when it came down to finals, and I noticed that he had taken some points off of some areas. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't have time to go ahead and meet with this professor because it was coming close to, you know, finals. We don't have much time anymore just after we did the finals and whatnot. So I went in and emailed the professor, and he remembered me by name because he remembered I went there to talk to him about that one grade and that conversation about lunch. So once I saw that he corrected that with no problem, no, you know, back and forth, I saw that, okay, well, now what I learned in orientation was my first year of college actually has an impact by actually doing that, stepping out of your comfort zone. So sometimes, you know, being involved allows you to develop those skills, and also with being in different types of clubs. Sometimes you go to school and you don't learn everything from the classroom, but it's also what you do outside the classroom, where it involves sports, you know, different clubs, you know, leadership roles, you know, finding out when you're in a group, you have to find out who you are. Are you a person that likes to lead the group? Are you the person that are the solving of the problems, for instance? So it's really good to step out of your comfort zone and to do these things so that you can develop yourself as an individual.
I guess my advice to students would be to seek guidance from advisors, and any resources available. Utilize resources on campus because they are here to help you. I guess helping students prepare for college, because a lot of students coming from low-income areas or coming to college unprepared, and they're taking remedial courses, which cost a lot, making the tuition more expensive. I guess by preparing students, providing resources that they can prepare for college, such as the example he gave of, what was the name of the program again? Abbott. So like helping them, like teaching them how to like read textbooks and note-taking, and also SAT courses in the summertime would be great. And also too, students of color, getting more teachers that are of color would be a good resource as well, just knowing someone who has a shared experience. And that's why I wanted to become a teacher, because I didn't really have any male teachers growing up. And if I did have that, it would have made the transition easier.
I'll agree with that. Also having more African American male or female teachers in the district. And another thing would be to continue to encourage the King Career Center, because the King Career Center I see is a very well for finding out what you want to do as far as a career goes. And yeah, just showing support. You know, sometimes a conversation with that student, or you know, showing that connection can help them to continue and not to be discouraged. Whether, you know, it could be, you know, finding out why they're not turning in their homework on time, or they're not completing it. You know, trying to find out. You know, I know it might be a little bit out of the curriculum maybe, but it's just getting to know the student more, like finding out, okay, they're not finishing their assignment, they're acting up in class, you know, trying to figure out what's happening at home, because sometimes, a lot of the times, what happens at home, what they're going through, can be a reflection of why they're acting this way in school. It doesn't mean they're not bright, but sometimes it's because, you know, they need some more support, or something in the home needs to be shown that you care. And once you show that you care, then you'll see that the positive of that will show.
Some advice, I think, would be offer some sort of class that teaches the students what the life of a college student is like. Maybe not just reading, taking notes, those are great things to teach them, but also like what is it like living maybe on campus, or what's it like actually sitting in a classroom and taking notes and all this stuff. I took the college survival class as a freshman in college, and I found that so helpful, and I wish it would have been taught to me in high school, not in college. Because it really taught me, okay, so this is what I can do to take good notes, or this is how I should do things. Sometimes people take it as granted, and they're like, oh, they'll figure it out. Or, some nice teachers will say, will tell their students some things about college, but not everything. And I think that's some sort of support in high school would be really helpful. Don't leave it up after they're gone to help them, but rather before they leave to help them.
Wonderful teacher. She would tell us the answer for every test, but she would explain why they're the answers, and she made the class very less stressful. And because she made it less stressful, I was more happy in there, and I wasn't thinking about, okay, I need to study this, I need to prepare for this, okay, I gotta do that, and I gotta do that. She would just tell us what we need to know, but she would explain it in depth, why this is. She taught biology. And she always put jokes on the board and cartoons and everything. It was a class that I just want to say, I learned the most from that class out of all of high school. Because she didn't make it so stressful. She made it more fun and engaging for me, and my mind wasn't all over the place. Because I realized, okay, I don't have to worry about all these testing. I'm going to be able to just focus on what she has to teach me. And I'm going to be able to learn that. Because when you're stressful, you're not really paying attention. You're worrying about everything else. And by not making us feel so stressed out about these tests, how emphasized and how stressful, when people think of tests, they think that's like the biggest thing and it's so stressful. She didn't make it like that. She made it able so I could focus and learn without having to worry about tests.
Well, a few things I want to mention. One, growing throughout elementary, middle school, and high school, I was part of the Spanish immersion program, which I believe helped me out a lot to discover who I am and what my people come from, and that has shaped me to the man who I am today. So I guess my advice for the district and the community to better support males of color is perhaps open more immersion programs in our schools, so kids of our kind can understand more about their background and perhaps build off of that. I know currently we have a few chaining Government Hill, Romick, and West with Spanish, Russian, and I believe German also, as well. So more immersion programs would be quite helpful. And also, just a little side note, I think pushing our teachers throughout the school district to try to, for several, how do I put this? In my school careers, I understood that some teachers try to push for success in sometimes a few students rather than the whole class, and they feel like they've done their job. However, I feel like they haven't. So I feel like pushing our teachers to have the whole class succeed as a whole will boost our numbers throughout the state instead of just a few kids getting it and other kids feeling like they've totally failed at life. So if the whole class gets it, then you've done a successful job. But if a few students got it and most didn't, then we have a problem, which comes back to why Alaska's test scores are not up there yet, which I believe we can be up there one day, and perhaps we could be the best in the country.
Okay, when it comes to testing and learning languages, I made a friend. She's Russian, and one of the things she told me, the best way how she learned English was not by reading words and comparing that what it would translate into another language. instead she would put, let's say there's an apple. Instead of having the Russian word for apple and the English word for apple, she would image the English word apple with a picture of an apple. And I can apply that to English class in high school. We had to make this little card, this long piece of paper, and we had to draw a picture on what the word was. And then when it came to test, all we had to do was think of what the picture looked like, and it was easier to fill in the blanks of what the definition was for the word. Because it's easier to describe an image than a text.
Looking back, I wish there was more programs like ANSEP that are geared to high school students transitioning into college. Yes.
I agree with them because I did take the Creating Success in College course at UAA, and it helped me with organization, tracking, and planning for my college career path. And I wish there was a program or a class that we could take at ASD that would help a lot with the transition into college. And one thing to help better support for males of color is just bringing awareness, because I didn't know that there was a Alaska Native counselor at Diamond until my senior year. And I went and talked to her halfway through the year, and she helped me get through FAFSA and registering for UAA, registering for my classes, and getting in contact with the Native advisors over at UAA.
There's a couple of things, I guess, from my experience, I think that would help other students. Like one would be kind of having smaller spaces for kind of social and academic interactions between similar students or students and teachers, like a multicultural center. Because I know places like the lunchroom can be pretty daunting. So just, I guess, and it's hard to connect in those kind of environments. Like at South, it's a really large school, and it's very cliquish, so it can be difficult to find your social kind of space there. So creating smaller social spaces for students to connect with each other and to connect with teachers, I think, is important. Another thing I think is important is, I know like in high school now they have Alaska Studies as a required course, but I think it should be more than just one course. It should be something integrated throughout your entire education from kindergarten, just tying education to the local place and to the people. I think that's very important, and I think it can work in like all subjects, not just in social studies, but science, even just the geography of Alaska. So I think that's would have helped me out a lot in high school.
So one thing that I'm affiliated with is different clubs on campus, and one being AK Pride. It's a club that has just started here at UAA, and one of the things on our agenda is to go back to those high schools and have a Q&A session, where here we are, UAA students, and we're having questions done with the high schoolers, like real questions that they would have, not from like an advisor or a representative that's higher up, but more on a personal student-to-student level. And that's one of the projects that we're working on currently.
Well, unfortunately, I have not gone back to my high school yet and to inspire others to go to college, but it's definitely in my plans in the future. I'm definitely open to going back and giving a few words of wisdom, if you will, to those who are, are on 50-50 on whether or not to go to college, and I can surely persuade anyone that college is the right way to go.
I guess main reasons why students even go to college is to get a job, and most of the times a high-paying job. So students are going to tend to look at programs such as the engineering program where they can make more money, or going to medical school. I guess offering, I guess a higher salary, I guess, would make the education and make it more attractive. Yeah. I guess more scholarships and grants too would definitely help out a lot.
So follow-up question, do you plan on staying in Alaska, or are you going to look for a job in the lower 48?
My original intent was that I wanted to go like to a inner city, someplace else like Detroit. But I guess just since I'm in the College of Education, we do a lot of practicums and look at different schools. I was able to go to Wonder Park, and I didn't realize that we had a bunch of poverty within our own community, and that just really opened my eyes and makes me want to stay here now. Yeah.
Well, first of all, to start off, I have been on both sides of the spectrum. I have been the one who was perhaps the one of few who was succeeding in a certain class, and I've also been the one of the many who was not understanding the certain topic. And for now, I'll keep those topics anonymous and those teachers anonymous. However, yes, I do. There was at times that I do believe that the teachers were, at first, they start off the school year with eager to teach everyone their certain topic or their certain knowledge of the topic, and later on they I feel like they start sticking to certain students who they in their own eyes see like they have more potential than the rest, which I feel like is a bit unfair considering you only have a few months to really know who we are. And so frankly, I think the teachers should keep an open mind and find a way to teach all of the students equally and to keep pushing for all of them to succeed instead of just a few.
And it was actually a student that was more older than me in class that had to mention it. It came to the point where I was turning in assignments, and I was doing well, making sure I turned it in on time. And every time I wanted to get my papers back from grading, she would never have them. And then so I was like, well, okay, well, I know I turned it in, so everything's okay. But a student in class mentioned out loud, like, you always forget his papers. You're always losing his papers. And then immediately she said, oh, look, I found it. And so it was eye-opening. But at that time, I'm still transitioning to college, so I didn't know how to handle the issue. But, you know, I still passed the class. I mean, I still could have done more things to get a better grade because I felt like the grade that was given to me was not necessarily given by my efforts, but more about my ethnicity. But, you know, you learn life every single day. I think that, you know, it happens all around the world, and it's just how we apply ourselves, you know. So that's how I would address it.
That situation, just with teachers are cultural bridgers. A lot of students come into schools with a lot of cultural experiences, and teachers can help them make those connections. So I guess the proper training and helping teachers be more exposed to different cultures and knowing that they're students.
Well, I just wanted to mention one of my experiences in high school with a kind of a racial tension issue. I guess it was kind of like a study hall class, and there were some students talking about Alaska Natives, and they were saying some actually very offensive things that I don't want to repeat, but they were very offensive, and nobody did anything. The teacher kind of just didn't do anything, and it just went on. But those comments were, I mean, I can still remember those comments because they were very offensive. So just experiences like that where things happen and they go unaddressed, or no one says that these aren't appropriate things to be saying.
So can I ask you a question? Yes. Did you tell me that you attended South?
Stellar and South?
Okay. And South is not a very diverse school, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what at South High School to bring about more diversity or more acceptance?
I guess exposing the students to not just in their education to other kind of worldviews or cultures, but also, I don't know, having kind of cultural events at the school, I think could really expose people to different cultures.
And maybe training with some of our teachers?
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a lot of teachers that come from out of state, and oftentimes they don't know anything about Alaska or Alaska Native people. I think that's a huge thing.